The photo on the mantel was everything Maya kept of Anna. A summer smile, hair tangled by salt wind, 2 missing teeth like small islands. But this morning the face was just empty, a pale smudge where memory should be. She stood very still, tracing a fingertip across the glass, thinking maybe it was the light. Then Mrs. Harlow next door leaned over the hedgerow and asked, "Who are you looking for?" As if the question itself could fold the world in half and leave no answer. Do you feel that? That small bruise of wrongness under the skin of a day? Listen closely now. I'm Samnang. This is Nature's Dread. Tonight's story is called The Fog That Forgets. Find somewhere dark and quiet, put your headphones on, and listen like you're the one standing at the mantel.
Maya Reyes ran a bait shop on Harbor Road and folded rope for the boats when the fog rolled in. She had Anna, her daughter, at the center of small days, packing thermoses, tucking stray hair behind an ear, arguing over late curfews, and then laughing about it over tea. Anna was 17 that winter, hair the dark of storm water, knuckles always dusted with sand. She worked half-time at the co-op and left notes on the fridge in a handwriting that tilted right when she was excited. They argued about college the way some families argue about weather. It was ordinary and exact in every way that matters, until it wasn't.
That night had been all wind and wet glass. Anna was due home by midnight. Maya checked the watch twice and read a worn note on the fridge that said, "Be safe." At 12:18, Anna staggered into the kitchen, mud on her jeans, hair smelling of salt and something older. She hugged Maya hard, whispered something about fog that moved like hands. She seemed tired, maybe a little terrified. Maya made tea, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. The house felt safer with both of them breathing in it. For a few minutes, everything went back to being ordinary.
By morning, the house had been rearranged around a hole. The co-op clock read the wrong day. Anna's backpack sat in the hallway, but when Maya asked Mrs. Harlow if Anna had been over for coffee, the neighbor frowned like a photograph that didn't load. "Anna?" she said slowly. "You mean a girl? Are you all right, love?" The school office told Maya there were no records for an Anna Reyes. Photographs on Maya's phone blurred where Anna's face should be, like someone had thumbed paint across a memory. Maya brought a framed graduation picture to the police. The officer took it, studied it, and then handed it back as if he'd been asked a trick question. "We have no missing person called Anna Reyes," he said. "Maybe you misremember."
Can you imagine being told your child never existed? Not just that they left, but that everyone around you, the teacher, the neighbor, the clerk at the diner, treats your memory as a mistake. Maya did not accept the mistake. She began to ask for proof, attendance rolls, phone logs, other parents who would remember a soccer game or a sleepover. Where she expected friction, she met blankness. Where she expected a name, there was a ledger with a space where the name should be, as if someone had excised a line from a book and the paper had never quite healed.
At first, most folks told Maya the obvious things people say about loss. Maybe she'd run off. Maybe she'd changed her name. Maybe the world had been cruel and they'd simply been mistaken. But then small, impossible things started to line up. An elderly man at the marina, who'd lived here 70 years, showed Maya a ledger he kept of storms. In the margin, he'd scratched dates and names. That morning, some entries were streaked out as if the ink had been rubbed damp. He looked at Maya with the kind of fear you only get when something old remembers a wrong. "Fog comes north sometimes," he said, "but that fog, it takes the edges off things. Names go quiet. People stop answering to them."
Maya started collecting threads. A teenager down the road swore he had a sister named Leela who used to bike past the harbor, until the boy's mother said there had never been a Leela. A fisherman remembered a deckhand called Tom, then blinked and called the thought foolish. Maya found an old forum thread where someone described waking up inside the mist and then finding their wedding photos had lost a face. Names, faces, attendance logs, they frayed wherever the fog came down. People described a bank of mist that moved like a low tide, white as breath, and left the edges of memory white as bone. Folklore and reports layered on top of each other. An old fisherwoman told Maya about a warning passed from generation to generation. When the fog forgets, you must mark your things with names carved into wood. You must call people by nicknames and teach them to answer 2 ways. You must leave a candle at the threshold because bright light keeps the fog at the edge. To some in town, this sounded like superstition. To others, it was ancient weather sense. To Maya, it became a list. She started carving Anna's name into the beam above her bed.
Then Maya found the notebook. It was damp and half buried under a pallet near the docks. Lines of names in a cramped hand, some crossed out, some rubbed, as if someone had tried to make the ink disappear with a thumb. Beside the names were places. Mile markers were fog wrote in. A note that said, "Don't follow alone." The bottom of the page had one last entry, scrawled twice. Maya Reyes. Do not let them forget her. This was not a suggestion. This was a summons.
Maya could have left the ledger at the police station. She could have let the officers handle a thing that made their voices small and uncertain. Instead, she folded the notebook into her jacket pocket and walked toward the harbor, where the road narrows and the fog comes down like lowered lids. There is a point in a story where the safe choice ends, and the only honest thing left is to go forward. This is where things change.
Crossing the fog line was like stepping inside another throat. Sounds shrunk. Horizons came closer. The world lost color first. Blue turned to gray, gray to white, and then names thinned at the edges. Maya called Anna's name 3 times. On the second call, her voice came back, then slipped. On the third call, there was a reply that sounded like paper being turned, a small, wet noise at the back of memory. She kept going.
Inside the fog, things were almost not there. A bench she'd leaned on was more suggestion than object. Voices were thin and wrong, like someone had compressed a conversation and only the vowels survived. Maya felt her own name wobble when she said it. The nearer she got to the center, the more the world pressed at her, a sensation that someone was reading a list and skipping a line. Then she saw them, people moving in the mist, their faces smudged, their mouths forming syllables that dissolved. They were alive and absent at once, as if memory itself had been refiled into another place.
Maya held Anna's tiny she-shell necklace in her hand, the one with a crack down the middle, and called her full name like a bell. Nothing answered at first. Then the fog tightened, and a shape peeled away. Anna, or something like her, rearranged by the mist. Anna's eyes were unfocused, as if someone else had painted them back on. She didn't recognize Maya at first. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. For an impossible moment, the fog tried to take Anna whole. It pressed against the space of her life and began to smooth it out of being. This is the moment the fear takes hold.
Maya did something simple and stubborn. She told Anna a story only the two of them knew. The story of the tide pool, where Anna dropped her first shell. The joke about the rooster that crowed at the wrong time. The secret word they used when the power failed. She recited nicknames, the names of friends, the exact cadence of a lullaby. Each recollection felt like stitching, and slowly, painfully, Anna blinked, as if remembering how to be a person again. The fog thinned at the edges, irritated by the brightness of a memory that would not be smoothed away. When they stepped back through the white, the town looked the same, and not the same. Some photographs regained a face. Some people remembered names they'd forgotten mid-step, but the ledger at the marina still had lines rubbed to nothing. A few people remained blurred in family albums. The fog had given back Anna, but it had taken others and kept them. The town kept a different silence now, not the naive hush of weather, but a cautious one, like a community that knows its own edges have been trimmed.
Maya learned that memory is a muscle and a covenant. She kept carving Anna's name into the house, into wooden spoons, into the mantelpiece. She started a small ledger of her own, a list of people who had been erased and the places they were last remembered. She left candles on the porch on foggy nights and taught Anna the old fisherwoman's nicknames so the girl would answer to more than one name. The town learned to keep two lists, one of facts, another of the way people felt about them. The fog taught them to be more precise and more tender at once.
Weeks later, on a morning with the gulls complaining and the harbor slick with light, Maya found a small object on her doorstep. Anna's seashell necklace, cracked in the same place, wet as if it had been washed ashore. No note, no footprints. Mrs. Harlow came by and knelt to pick it up, tilting the shell like a question. Her face was patient and puzzled. And then, impossibly, she said, "Oh, I remember now. She's your girl, isn't she?" As if the recollection had only just arrived. Maya smiled and said nothing. The fog had moved on, but it had left its fingerprints.
If you walk the harbor on a foggy morning, you'll notice small things, carved initials on docks, candles left in jars, neighborhoods keeping names taut like clotheslines. People here sleep with the radio low and a list by the bedside. They call each other by 3 names now: given, nickname, and the thing that ties them to a remembered place. The fog did not stop being a weather. It practiced forgetting. The town practiced remembering.
If you're still here, it means the story followed you to the end. Take a breath. Look around your room. Make sure something is exactly where you left it. I'm Samnang. If this episode stayed with you, share it with someone who listens in the dark. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and so we can keep these stories and the people in them from slipping without a record. Until next time, check the corners, keep your eyes open, and your lights maybe not too bright. Good night.